Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I got some happy mail the other day from one of my viewers, Tracy Page, and it's kind of funny because the day I received it is the day that the tray that I painted with the "It's fine, I'm fine, everything's fine" cat came out, which was really cool, and a huge thank you to Tracy. I love it and I really do appreciate it. All right, on to the project. So today we are using Let's Resin 4-Hour Cure resin. Now, never played with it before, so this is my first time, and let me tell you, did I push it to its limit. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I just mixed up 4 ounces of the resin, and I added about 6-ish drops of that Marabou Rainbow Alcohol ink just for a little bit of shimmer. And now I'm going to put this clear layer into these molds. It's going to fill them up right around halfway or so. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to do 2 layers. So I've got this as my first layer, and then we're going to add some stuff into it and then come back in a couple hours or so and do the second layer. Now, if you've never played with a fast cure resin before, this resin in particular has a 20-minute work time. Well, I'm going to go over that. Not intentionally, but I did. And it's super high viscosity, like super thick. So ideally, a clear layer probably isn't a great idea because of the thickness of it. There's, a higher chance of getting bubbles and all of that into your resin. So I'm going to do it anyway. All right, so I'm just kind of going through, and because this is so thick, it's not like it doesn't move super fast. So I am kind of just going over and making sure that I have coverage in all the areas. Now what I'm going to do is, because there are bubbles from me mixing it, and I did mix it slowly the right way for a change. I promise I did. Otherwise, it would be nothing but a bunch of bubbles. However, at this point, as I'm going around and I'm trying to get the bubbles kind of dislodged from those 90-degree edges and everything, I start getting this, like, it almost looks like it's not mixed up. And I'm kind of starting to question if I mixed it long enough at this point. So I get done with the first one, and as I'm doing the same thing to this one, I realize, like, you know how you get the streaks and that if you don't mix your resin properly? I'm getting a whole lot of them at this point. So I'm kind of panicking a lot, and uh, I don't know if I checked it. It looked like it was mixed. I mixed it for the right amount of time, but it's not looking in the mold like it's mixed up. So at this point, like, I don't even know if this is going to cure, and I may not have a video. I don't know. But we're just going to go on with it and kind of see what happens and cross our fingers and hope for the best. And, it'll be fine, right? So you can kind of see I'm kind of like not just going and getting the bubbles out. I'm trying to mix it up just in case it's not mixed up properly. Now, I did add that Marabou alcohol ink to it, and maybe because I didn't like mix it up for a crazy amount of time afterwards, maybe it's just kind of like whatever's in it that is kind of giving the illusion that it's not mixed up. That's what I'm hoping for, but I don't know. So we're just going to keep on and see what happens. Once I get done kind of messing around and getting all of those kind of bubbles that are trapped on the edges up, I'm going to hit it really well with my heat gun just to pop any of those bubbles. Because it is such a high viscosity resin, they take a lot longer to kind of rise to the surface and pop. So this is going to kind of help, like, make it a little bit thinner, make it move a little bit more easily, and get those bubbles popped. All right, so we're pretty much done doing this. Now I'm just kind of hitting a few areas that I see that still have bubbles there, and now we're going to start adding some stuff to it if I ever stop. All right, well, eventually I'm going to get done fooling around and then we can get on with this video. All right, I think I'm finally done. So now what I want to do is just at the kind of bottom of each one of these, I have these really pretty stones that I got, and they kind of there's a variation. There's some light purples, dark purples, greens, clear, kind of like foggy looking ones, just a bunch of different colors. So I thought I'd kind of put this towards the bottom and almost make it look or have the feel of, I don't know, when in my head, kind of like a rivery type deal minus the water. So I'm just kind of put them in here. Now, these stones come in various sizes, and I don't want any that are going to go up over top of the mold, so I am kind of being careful that they're not too fat that they're going to stick up over it. And I want to kind of get a variation in color and not so much of one color in one area, if that makes sense. So I'm just kind of placing them around wherever I kind of feel like I want to stick them. And then going for the little ones inside the little like bits and pieces of the letters. And I am kind of worried that I'm already kind of taking a chance because this resin ideally is for like your jewelry molds and smaller stuff like that, and not necessarily for something this large. And also, I'm taking a chance with the clear resin as it is and bubbles. But by me adding all this stuff into it, like I could very easily get the bubbles in there. So hopefully that won't happen, but we're just going to have to wait and see. All right, so now I'm just making sure that each one of these is covered completely with resin, kind of pushing it around with my silicone tool to make sure that they fit. They're not like deforming my mold at all. And also that if there's any air bubbles, hopefully they'll come out. And we're just going to kind of place it and get them all situated how I want them. And then we're going to go and add some more stuff. So I decided that given the color of the stones, I'm going to take some of my colored glass, and this one is silver, but I'm going to use a teal and a purple as well, just to kind of complement the stones. And I'm just going to kind of sprinkle some here and there over top of the rocks. Now, as I was doing this, I started thinking that the rocks are big, the glass is little, and the bottom is the front of this piece. So I probably would have been better off had I added the glass first and then the rocks. Because what if I can't get all these rocks or all this glass down underneath the rocks? And then you're not going to see it, and then I'm just wasting all this glass. But, we're just going to keep going on. Now, I do want to point out that at this point, my 20-minute work time is over. Like, it's over by a good 5 minutes now. So now I'm like really pushing this resin because I am nowhere near being finished adding in everything that I want to add in. So we're going to see if I screw this up. And because of the fact that all it's doing is, it's just going to keep getting thicker and thicker because it's curing and it's curing really fast, that me adding stuff into it and messing around with it, the chances for bubbles now, I'm at a greater risk for it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm done adding all the glass that I'm going to add. Now I am going in there and I'm trying to shove it into the resin, get it down so that it's in between the rocks some, filling up any like little voids that may be there, and just in the resin period, because at this point it's just kind of floating on top and it's not going to be seen much. So I'm hoping that by me kind of maneuvering it around a little bit, you'll get enough of it that it'll give the effect that I'm looking for. Like, I don't need a whole lot to show through, but I do want to see it. Like, that's the whole purpose of putting it in there anyway. And this part does take me quite a while to do because the glass kept sticking to the silicone tool that I'm using, and then I had to try and get it off, and then glass was kind of shooting everywhere, and it was just like a whole thing. So as I'm still fiddling with this, I do want to let you guys know that all your discount codes for Let's Resin and any other discount code I have along with everything that I'm using, as long as I can find it, will be in the description box. So if you are looking for something, that's where you'll find everything that I'm using. All right, I hit it with my heat gun really, really well. Now I'm just going through. There was a couple spots where the letter is super thin that, and I put the rocks in that I noticed it didn't seem like it had a whole lot of resin, like it got pushed out. So I am going in there and just adding the tiniest bit of resin to it so that, I don't have a big, huge hole there. Now, that resin on the bottom was like crazy super thick, so I was barely able to scrape any of it out. So that's where we're at as far as the resin goes at this point. Now I've got just some fake grass that I'm going to put in here. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, like this part took me what seems like 100 years. We already know at this point I'm well past my 20-minute work time. And this takes me probably a good 30 minutes to do. So I probably pushed this resin and used it and worked with it for like an hour. So I'm worried about that and bubbles and all of that. And then honestly, at this point, I'm not even 100% sure that it's going to cure because of what I noticed at the beginning. So like this whole thing, like I could just be wasting all of this stuff, and that's a scary thought because this is very, very time consuming what I'm doing. However, I think that, I mean, just kind of looking at it now, kind of just all coming together, and I don't even have a back coat on it yet, but it's looking pretty cool. So hopefully this is going to work out for me the way that I want it to. Now, I am going in and like taking my big long pieces and sticking them in the taller letters, and then the smaller stuff, is going into the hearts or the shorter areas that I have. And I'm just kind of fighting with this grass because when I cut it, you could see it just kind of went everywhere. Like there wasn't a whole lot of forethought about me cutting it and how I should have done it to make my life easier. So yeah, it shot everywhere. And then at this point, just from messing with everything, I mean, we all know resin's sticky anyway, but I am a sticky mess. And this grass is sticking to my gloves, it's sticking to the tweezers, it's sticking to the silicone tool. Like I can't grip it every time I try to put it down. It's just I struggled. I struggled really, really bad doing this part. But I am liking it. Like I'm really, really liking it so far. My next thing is what color to put on the back. That's my next kind of like I'm not sure 100% at this point what I'm going to do because I don't want to lose the effect and the colors that I'm trying to get by putting the wrong color back there. Like I want those colors to kind of pop and stand out, but I still want to kind of go for that watery like riverside type idea that I've got going on in my head. And I realize it's grass, but I kind of get like, when you're by like the waterbed of like a riverbed or something like that, and there's the tall, tall grass that's there. That's kind of like what I'm envisioning in my head. That what I'm going for with the rocks and just all the colors and everything is kind of what I'm leaning towards. But this takes me 102 years to do. But I do get there, and then we're gonna let this kind of cure and set up. I am going to, after I'm done, I will hit it with alcohol instead of my heat gun this time, just to kind of pop any bubbles. Like I don't want to move it around too much more. And I do know that I am shoving this grass into the resin, so I might have a problem. I don't know, but we're gonna let it cure. So this is an hour later now. It's probably closer to 2 from the time that I actually like mixed up the resin. It is tacky, it is super stringy. So now we're going to go ahead and do the back coat. So I did mix up another 4 ounces of resin, and any kind of long grassy pieces that were hanging up and over. I either tried to shove them down further so they won't come up off like through my back coat, or I cut them. Now I'm going to use a little bit of my Rolio pure white pigment paste and just mix that up really, really well. I don't need a whole lot, just a little bit on the stick. And after I mix it somewhat and I kind of get the opacity and the shade that I want, it's pretty mixed in. I am going to wipe this off, my stick off with a baby wipe. Now, I'm doing that because I don't want to have the same issue that I had a few videos back where I've got lumps of pigment paste that didn't get mixed up. So I did wipe it off so that I can continue to mix it and make sure that when I'm scraping my cup and all of that later on, I don't have an issue. Now I'm going in here, and this is kind of like a rainbow kind of sparkle glitter. It's white and it's very, very fine, but you get those rainbow color effects when you do it. Now, are you going to be able to see it? I don't know, but I thought maybe, just maybe, you'll pick up just a little bit of that. So I mix that up really well, and then what I'm going to do is I want to kind of try and go for a marble-ish effect. I haven't had much luck with it, but we're going to try. So a little bit of my cheap art alcohol ink in sky blue, just a little mix just to kind of get it in there. And now we're going to slowly pour this in to fill up this mold. Again, at this point, I'm not expecting much of the marbling effect. I haven't figured out how to do it yet exactly to actually like really, really make it work. And this probably isn't the way to do it. I don't know, but we're going to try. So I am going in there and just kind of slowly going over it. Again, it's a thick resin, so it's not going to flow super fast into all of those like little areas of the mold. So I will go back in there with a tool later on just to kind of get it to move around the rest of the way. Now, by the directions, it said that you should wait like a little bit longer, like at least another hour or so before you pour on the next layer, but I didn't do that. So, like I said, this is an hour after I stopped fooling with it, maybe about 2-ish since it was poured. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. All right, so now I'm just going in here with my dotting tool this time, and I am just gently moving it. That resin underneath is still not cured yet, so I don't want to like I don't want the layers to mesh and combine, and I don't want to accidentally, put bubbles in there or any of that. And there are a couple times that I kind of hit the bottom and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got to be more careful and and actually not mess this up." But I am just taking my time, moving it around, and then I am going to finish topping it off with a little bit of resin that I have left in the areas that I need. Kind of worried there's a few rocks here and there that are not quite covered yet, so I'm hoping that I can cover them with what I have mixed. But before I go in with the rest of the resin, I am going to hit it with the heat gun just to pop any of those bubbles that may be in there. And then I will fill it up the rest of the way. Now, in all honesty, I probably could have mixed up another half ounce of resin just to kind of finish a few spots that did like get stuck, kind of sticking out a little bit, but it's fine. It'll be fine. It's not that big of a deal. Like you could just see them. It's not that it's like actually protruding out. You can just kind of see it through the resin, if that makes sense. Like it's still smooth. So it's fine. It's fine. But just going in here and I am just kind of just putting it wherever I feel necessary, and then we're just gonna let it do its thing and see what we get, and hope to God that, I mean, I'm assuming that that bottom layer is going to cure at this point, because if it wasn't going to, I wouldn't think that it would have that stringy tackiness. All right, hit it one last time with the heat gun, and then we're just going to let this baby cure and keep our fingers crossed. Now, the family one, I have it butted up against the home one because right where the I and the L is, it's kind of warped out a little bit. So just to kind of keep it straight. All right, so this is 24 hours later. Now, I did check it after about 4 hours from me pouring that last layer, and it was cured at that point. I just couldn't get to the actual demolding part until the next day. So now it's time to demold this, and thank God that bottom layer cured. Like, I was super, super worried about it. Now, I did make quite a mess with each one of these just on my mold, so I had a lot of cleanup to do, which I will save you guys from having to watch. All I did was either took my finger or my tweezers and picked off all of those little bits and pieces that were there. And as soon as I am done demolding this one, we will take a look at them. And you guys can let me know what you think. Now, the marbling on the back, you can kind of see, which is kind of cool. All right, here we go. Look how pretty. Oh, it's so pretty. Now, I didn't get a whole lot of marbling, but there is like just barely touches, like little kisses of blue here and there, which I kind of dig. Like, it's not a lot. It's not quite the marbling that I was going after, but I almost feel like I like this better. It's just hints of blue here and there that just I get the river kind of vibe from it, and I'm loving it. Like, it is so, 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 so pretty. And guess what? There are like zero air bubbles. There's a tiny, like two tiny air bubbles on the bottom of the H, like the line that goes across, but that's it. That's it. So excited. Like, you don't even know. It's gorgeous. I absolutely love it. But I'm not done yet. So I had contemplated on how I wanted to do it, if I wanted to keep it three separate pieces or make it as a wall hanging. So I chose a wall hanging route. So what I did is I took a bunch of the jewelry bales, like the ones that you can actually, like, you're supposed to glue on or whatever. And I'm just taking some of my ISTOYO UV resin, and I'm resining these babies on. I've kind of figured it out how I want the words to kind of line up so they're, as centralized as possible. And we're just going to attach these bales to the back of the piece, making sure that they are even and straight and lined up and all of the things with like the letters in the right way. Now, I had struggled with this part too. Not on these ones. These ones, this part was fine. It's that home piece that really, really got me. It was something. I am only curing it enough right now just to kind of hold these pieces in place. I will go back at the end and I'm going to make sure the bales are completely coated in resin all the way around, and then cure them under my Let's Resin dual UV light for like a good 5 minutes before I'm done with it. Right now, it's just holding them in place, making sure that they're all where they're supposed to be, and then that's it. So I'm just going to go through this real quick, and then we will get to the next step. Now, I was kind of in between, like, part of me wanted to get those little rhinestones, like the nail rhinestones, and kind of go around the heart. And I kind of bounced back and forth with the idea of either doing that or maybe doing a thin outline with my silver paint pen. In the end, I think I'm just going to let it be at this, because I feel like if I did that, it would kind of take away from, like, just the beauty of the piece on its own. It's got a lot of sparkle and just this gorgeousness just on its own that I think I'm just going to leave it alone. However, just now I did think, and I wish I would have done this, and I might do it maybe. And I feel like, those little acrylic butterflies that I have? I think that would look cute just placed in a couple places on the top of each one, like maybe by the heart or something to that effect, just to kind of, it would still go with it. It wouldn't take away from the actual, like, just gorgeousness that it has right now. Like, I think those other ideas I had would, but I feel like butterflies would just add to it. So I may go and kind of just add that to it later on. We'll see. If I do, I'll update pictures on the community page or something to that effect. But anyway, so I do struggle with this forever and a year, but I finally figured it out eventually, you know, maybe. And then we're just gonna get some twine here in a minute after I'm done fiddling with this and kind of do it with twine. Now, I was between how I wanted to do it. I kind of was like maybe a chain and then no. And then I thought I had some like white rope and I put that up against it. But then I put the actual like twine up against it and the twine looks so much better. It just kind of goes with that whole like look and feel of the piece that I went with that. Now, the only thing I don't like about it is the knots that I have on there. And even the butterflies or maybe a flower or something like that, you could disguise it. I didn't do it, but it is something that you can do. And that's pretty much a wrap on this one, guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And I will catch you guys on Tuesday in the next one. Love ya. Bye.